Whew. Okay, so what I learned about Portugal, Switzerland, and the U.S. When it comes to a lot of stuff. When you go to Portugal, there's still some. For one, Portugal has a lot of older working people. Like their population over 50 is really large. I don't know the exact numbers right now, but it's really large. So I found out, and this is from doing previous research on where people get their information from. You find that older people still believe in the mainstream media, which we all hopefully, I know we don't all, because if we all knew that the mainstream media was just a propaganda machine, that we wouldn't have to we wouldn't listen to them. But the thing is, I don't know the numbers of 30 and down, and then 31 age of 30 and down, and ages 31 and up. But one thing you'll find out is older people still believe and go to the mainstream media for their information on what's going on in the world, because they don't know that it's just spewing propaganda. Because there was one time when the mainstream media, like CNBC, like MSNBC, like CNN, would report actual news, which they've stopped completely. So they only go by what Big Pharma wants them to do, or wants to tell the population, wants to convince the population of Big Pharma tells them what they want them to tell, what they want the mainstream media to tell the population, so the population can follow the narrative of Big Pharma. Okay. So let's go back to Portugal. Portugal, a lot of them that out there, they're still doing, they're still like kind of on the mask thing. They kind of, some of them aren't, most of them are, where they want you to, wear a mask inside, which we all know, it doesn't help whatsoever, but they want you to wear the mask inside a lot of the restaurants out there. And it's because the population still gets their news out there primarily from mainstream media. And it's unfortunate, because what does that do? It keeps people scared. It keeps people, stressed out. It keeps people divided. So a lot of people won't even express their opinion. For the ones who really don't care for the mandates, they are silent. They won't say anything because, they are worried about the people who listen to the mainstream media and believe that to their soul, that that's what's going on in the world. When, if you really go out in the world and you talk to people and you see how people really, really feel on one-on-one conversations, like I had in Portugal with people, like I had in Switzerland with people. And Switzerland is another very interesting one I'm gonna talk about next. And when you talk to people in the U.S., like a lot of people look at Florida, they try to down Florida like crazy. When you look at Florida and what we are doing out here and how free people are, and you'll find that when people want to be free, they leave New York, they leave Chicago to come here on vacation. And I know people literally from New York who will not tell people that they came to Miami out of being judged. Okay, and that is so sad. You can't even go on vacation and feel good about being on vacation without, treading lightly. Can't post, and they won't even post anything on Instagram. They won't post anything on social media, period, about, different places that they found in Miami, because it's been talked down so much, because, they don't impose these COVID restrictions and mandates on people, and they're fighting it. And, you got places like California, New York, Chicago, who are like putting more stuff in place, and it's turning into basically Australia. So you're almost gonna have like real, like, free, do what you want places in America, the United States of America, supposed to be the United States of America, you're going to have totalitarianism in different spots of a free, supposedly free democratic country at this point in time. And I see how the propaganda got different places, and even New York, they primarily focused on mainstream media to give them correct news. And if you see the people from New York, once they get out here, it takes them a couple of days to realize how it's not as serious as they make it seem out there. They scare people in California, New York, Chicago. I use those main three because those are the three that come up the most when it comes to being socialist, aka totalitarianism, or at least the totalitarianism, I should say, and also communism. It's the people that I spoke to in Portugal, after talking to them and giving them my side and letting them know what actual fact checkers out in in the US, aside from the mainstream media, what they found, and giving them sources and links to like some of these real articles and real numbers that you can't find in the mainstream media, because the mainstream media, they'll literally just like round up numbers and just make up numbers and use words that make problems seem bigger than they really are. COVID, yes, absolutely, it is a problem for some people, but they'll never give you the numbers. I mean, you saw the lady in the CDC who just started, who said, and actually, Kamala Harris also, if somebody went into the hospital and they died of COVID, died with COVID, but they came in there and they died of a gunshot wound, they were considered a COVID death. And then I was going to mention the lady in the CDC. You know what she said? Was that just yesterday, a day or two ago? She said it takes them like a couple of weeks to get, when they were talking about Omicron, they were like, oh, Omicron, the deaths, it takes a couple of weeks to get that information, and it's been around for a couple of weeks, so it should be coming soon. And no one will address the death count anymore. So if it takes a couple of weeks and I talked about this before, I'm not sure if my video, I can't remember if it's still up or not, if it got taken down. So I got a couple of strikes, I think, on YouTube already for speaking about honest, true things that are happening, and articles that literally state, I repeated articles, and they basically put it as false information, even though it was real and it's true, and it's still true. The lady from CC, no one will address the death count. If it takes weeks to populate death count numbers, how did y'all have a live death count on every mainstream media? They had a live death count on, just sitting on YouTube, live death count of how many people were dying of COVID, which, me again being in marketing and advertising, I know about scare tactics. I know that they put that fake counter up there to scare people into going out and getting the vaccine. They wanted to stress people out. They wanted to make people depressed. They wanted to make people anxious, and they also want to be the problem solver. And the solution to the problem, after they scared the hell out of everybody, was, oh, we have this, and if you get this, your life will go back to normal. That was 2 years ago. 2 years later, is it normal? No, it's not normal. Is this? You still gotta wear a mask? And like say, yeah, you still gotta wear a mask. Oh, but we're protected, right? Yes, but no, we can still pass. That's why I was like, I told a lot of people, they were like, oh, even a lady I spoke to last week, and again, I love listening to all sides of stories and listening to what people how people actually feel. I don't go against how people feel. They don't feel how they feel, and they don't think what they think with the information that they gather, and the way that their brain interpret that information is on them. It's just is how they are. I have no qualms on that. But you know, she was just like, oh my God, like, I pray you get vaccinated one day, and and like, she was just so into it. And I can tell. And of course, older lady, she was about 55, and she was taking her, I think, 12-year-old son to get vaccinated. And I can tell in her face that she didn't like the fact that the way when she asked me, oh, like, are you like going to get vaccinated? And I laughed and said, absolutely not. And I know why she was asking that, because she wanted to get confirmation for I think, she wanted to get confirmation for her kid that it's okay to get vaccinated. And in my opinion, it's okay to have a difference of opinion. It's okay to have a different outlook on what you are putting in your body. Like, a lot of people, they like, oh no, you know, this is like for the safety of everybody and blah blah. And it's like, nah, not really. It's like, why do you care because if you get the vaccine, you can still spread you can still spread COVID-19. It doesn't make a difference. According to YouTube, we have to say, oh, but it reduces the effects of spreading COVID. And yeah, so I just have to say that. But when it comes to people getting COVID, like, if you're unvaccinated, what does it matter if you get it from a vaccinated or an unvaccinated person? And if you're vaccinated, what does it matter if you get COVID from a vaccinated or unvaccinated person? Because you can get it from both. Like, that's just what it is. That's the science behind it. That's what everybody, follow the science. The science says the COVID shots don't stop you from getting COVID. It's supposed to reduce it, but it doesn't stop it. So what does it make a difference who you get it from? And if you want to so-called like protect yourself with this, because people still have died who have had like both doses and a booster, they still die from COVID, and not with COVID, from COVID. And you have people who have been sick like twice, at least, I think like 2 times, at least like twice, who have had COVID, unvaccinated, and they were perfectly fine. So, and people who were vaccinated who like ended up in the hospital, like, they say it's supposed to reduce the chance of you going to the hospital, but is that true? Ask the person who got the 2 shots and a booster, and they still sitting in the hospital bed because of COVID. You know what I mean? So in Switzerland, they're like really strict on it. I don't know if the restaurant, if it's because the government like will fine them if they don't check people for the antigen or the PCR test or the vaccine card. But like most places, they won't let you sit inside if you don't have one of those 3 things. And again, I think that's a business. I think that's a government thing. I haven't checked it. I haven't looked into that. But it's really sad. It's really sad because a lot of people are stressed, anxious, depressed. They scare people into not wanting to be around people. So think about the people who go to the extremes on a lot of this stuff. They really scared them. And people have literally like just taken their life because, they just sitting in a room alone. And when you're alone, you start to mentally like decompose in a way. And I'll tell you right now, through the entire pandemic, I was almost like never alone. Like, when I wanted to be around people, I was around people who also did not care about what was going on with this whole COVID thing. I'm talking about from the very beginning. I have not been alone. I've been around people the entire time. And, it's sad that the people, and I still see this to today, the people who are most anxious, most scared, most depressed are the ones unfortunately, they're ignorant, because they sit there and they listen to all this stuff and they see all of this stuff going on, but they never take the time to really look into it and see and read about what it is, read about what it affects, read it about, you know, it was hard to find how people experience, like what people's experiences with COVID, because the majority, of course, people who got it didn't do anything whatsoever. You just had like a slight cold for a day or whatever. But it's unfortunate, most of the people who are scared and who are fearful and who, you know, are anxious and who are scared to be around people and scared to touch people and lock themselves in the house, those, most of the time, again, no matter how rich they were, no matter how famous they were, successful, ignorance does not, you can be ignorant and rich. You can be ignorant and have a family. You can be ignorant and not have a family. You can be ignorant in any type of way, shape, or form. And that's what I found, that a lot of people were super ignorant and didn't even care to research what COVID actually was, how long it's been around, why it's not serious, and they screwed themselves. You know, a lot of people unnecessary, a lot of unnecessary suicides, a lot of unnecessary, the necessary lockdown for one, completely unnecessary, and yeah, it's just sad to see how many stupid people are out here in the earth. It's not on Earth. They're on Earth too, because when I went to Portugal and Switzerland again, like they're on top of it. Unless the government is making them do this stuff, it's sad to see that is so many stupid, ignorant people who won't look into what's actually going on. Like you know, and they don't know when propaganda is being fed to them. They're so in the system. And I know people right out here, and they live in Miami, who are in the system. Like, they wholeheartedly believe that we are doing the absolute wrong thing by now. Like, I'm in a car by myself right now, and there are literally people out here that I know who wear a mask in the car by themselves, jogging, riding a bike outside. And I see that they wearing masks to the beach. I'm like, how stupid can you be? And then I think that, and then I see someone walking to the beach with a mask on, and I'm like, that's how stupid. That's the sign of an ignorant person who has not looked up information. A lot of time, even, I'll use a relationship as an example. If you are in a relationship and you don't know what's going on, you don't know why the person is acting that way, what do you usually do? You get upset, you get frustrated, you may get anxious, you may get depressed. And you know why? Because you don't know. That person may not tell you, but still, you just don't know. You don't know what's going on. And then when you don't know what's going on, it causes some of those type of issues. That's the same thing with the whole COVID thing. People just don't know. Could they have found out what was going on? Could they have listened to independent journalists who talked about all this stuff? Absolutely. A lot of them you can't silence all of them. When you look for the information, you find it. And in the very, very beginning, when they start talking about, oh, you know, lockdowns, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I started looking into this, and I was like, oh, okay. Propaganda machine, they're transferring money. Like, all of that stuff is real. That's just what they did. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's what they did. And it's sad that people didn't fight it. They let it go on for 2 years, and now I know, you know, if you are watching news, they're talking about Great Britain lifting all COVID restrictions, period. Ireland also lifting all COVID restrictions, period. Shout out to them. So I'm gonna end it right there. This is almost like a 20-minute video, 20-minute rant basically. But it's important. It's important. If you feel offended by what I said, that's good. That means you probably one of the ignorant people who didn't look into it, and you probably let your grandparents die in the hospital by themselves because you were scared to go see them. I literally know someone who, like, she was dying. like literally dying of. She was gonna die. I think she's probably dead now. Because at the time that I was, and it's crazy. You know what the craziest part? I'm sitting with this lady. I was doing Uber at this time. I'm sitting with this lady, and she's telling me about how her family, like how she can't see her family. She's dying. She cannot see her family. That's what the mainstream media tells her, because she's older and she's be more affected by COVID and people around her, whatever. You're sitting here talking to an Uber driver. You're in a car with an Uber driver. I can see you. Why can't your family see you? I don't get it. Your family, you can't see your family, but you can see an Uber driver to get you back and forth to doctor's appointments. Makes absolutely no sense. Dying without seeing your family because the news said that you shouldn't see your family. That's how deep rooted it was. That's how, ridiculous it was when, I was out here again every day. I was out around people every day. And that's the level of stupidity that I saw. People are literally dying, not seeing their families because the government told them that it's not good to be around. If you're an older person, it's not good to be around younger people. It's not good to be around people, period. And it's sad. So hopefully the ignorance of people, and I know a lot of it has subsided because, a lot more of the news is coming out. You can only cover up a lie for so long. Eventually it comes to light. So, can we get a rush on this? We're going to talk some more about this. Hopefully, they don't take my YouTube channel down. If they do, I'll just go do another one. But yeah, just look into it. Anytime someone tells you something, question everything. Don't just let people tell you what to do. That's China. We don't want that. We supposedly democratic, but I found that we are definitely, they're definitely pushing, see how far they can push the people to go the route of, making people do what they want them to do. The do as you told dynamic. And it's sad. I hope they don't actually get a chance to go that route. Not completely at all. I just hope the American people are smarter. I hope they're not smarter. I hope they get smarter because the totalitarianism. No, we don't want that here. It's going that route, but we don't want that here. It can be stopped. We don't want to hear. All right, let's talk more about this later. Okay.